Hello and welcome back to Sunrider Liberation Day Return. The Sunrider unloaded everything in its arsenal against the flaming comet streaking towards the ship. It was too late. All hands, brace for impact! Ava threw herself on top of shields. The two pressed themselves against the ground as the entire ship tumbled from the force of the collision. The hull around the bridge bent. Sparks exploded from every direction as power cords snapped. Vapor shot out and covered the bridge as pipes shattered from the force of the impact. Instruments hidden inside the walls blew in fireballs, sending wall panels flying. The crew burst open emergency lockers, grabbed fire extinguishers to combat the flames. Report! The Nightmare ascended as crash near engineering. All systems are catastrophically damaged. The reactor core's cooling system has been destroyed. If we do not restore auxiliary systems within 10 minutes, we will have a full-scale meltdown on our hands. Order engineering to fix the reactor, double time. Fortunately, we've lost all contact with engineering. Shit! Captain, intruder alert! What? Security footage of the Ascendant's cockpit opening and Alice entering the twisted hull of the ship inside an environmental suit appeared on the main screen. Shit, she's heading straight for engineering. Alert security, stop her! Sir! Meanwhile, the future Kato shields pushed through the burning corridor to get to engineering. The injured and dead were strewn throughout the floor. He had no choice but to march on and complete his mission. If the prototype gets to reactor core, then the game's over. He finally arrived at the burning engine hall. Vapor streamed out from all over. A dozen broken pipes and flames licked the wall. At his feet were bullet-ridden bodies of half a dozen Marines. Shit! It was too late. He ducked for cover seconds before a stream of bullets riddled his position. Alice's voice echoed through engineering. You're too late, Shields! Once the reactor melts down, you will die! And with that, this timeline shall revert to its original chronology. I don't know just how you got the Wanderer to help you, but even she is not infallible. Just as I thwarted her plans in your timeline, I shall thwart her here yet again. Surrender, prototype! You should know that if you die and the original timeline is restored, this is for your own good too. Death means nothing to a walking corpse such as I. Alice opened fire once more, pinning Shields down. Damn it! He drew his pistol. Gauging from the sound of her weapon, Shields summarized she had commandeered one of the Marines' rifles. In other words, he was outmatched in terms of firepower. But she's still nothing wearing but her plug suit. All it'll take is one good shot to bring her down. If only I can figure out what she's hiding. Shields kept talking, trying to use the prototype's voice to determine her position. Your fleet's defeated! Fontana has control of Pact now. What do you have to gain by triggering total war between the Alliance and Fontana's forces? All that'll happen is the destruction of all you've worked for. All that I've worked for? Do not think for a moment I had any notions to ruin the galaxy as Venusaur, Empress, or some other meaningless title. I have no intention of raising your worms from your wretched existence. All I sought was the doom for your species. Good, keep talking. She's over there. Shields popped from cover and unloaded his pistol into a shadowy catwalk. Sparks flew as the already damaged supports fell away, bringing the elevated path crashing down on a slope. Ah! Alice rolled down the collapsing catwalk, losing her grip on her rifle. Shields used the opportunity to charge at her position. He aimed his pistol and pulled the trigger, but received a feeble click. Out of ammo. In frustration, he tossed his pistol aside and bull rushed into Alice's gut just as she got back to her feet. Unexpectedly, excruciating pain shot down his spine. Ah! He ran headfirst into what felt like solid steel. He looked up, just in time to see an energy barrier flicker in front of Alice. Ha! Fool! Shields mustered his strength and delivered a round of punches to Alice's chest. His fist bounced off the energy shield surrounding her. With a single backhand, Alice knocked Shields down to the floor, driving an explosion of blue spark at his jaws. Shields splat blood from his mouth. Ugh! Did you think I would come here without a personal shield? Alice stepped on his prone body. Sparks of energy shot from her heel as it dug into Shields' ribs. Ah! Shields could only howl helplessly as his flesh seared off. He desperately looked at the Sunrider's reactor. Steam was pouring from all sides as the remaining coolant rapidly evaporated. If he did not defeat Alice within minutes, the reactor would melt down and destroy the entire ship. I won't kill you yet, Shields. I want you to be here with me when the ship's reactor finally blows. We'll die together, you and I. The reactor's side panel burst in an explosion of vapor, ruffling Alice's hair. How long have I waited for this moment, to finally sink into the black void of death? I know I shall never see him where I am headed, but I know that I, Alice Ashada, has saved the galaxy from humanity. Like a festering nest of roaches, humanity will breed until it has consumed the galaxy. Then you will eat each other until nations fall and civilization ends. Humanity is but a sea of moaning, naked bodies, wretched and poor. When one dares to rise above the crowd to bring about everyone's salvation, It will not be the rich and powerful in their ivory towers that bring about the hero's downfall, but the masses the hero sought to liberate. For the wretched cannot bear to see one of them rising above them, for that only reminds them that they are pitiful, pathetic scum. They will be rather keep festering in the holes than be saved. And one day you too will be betrayed, Shields, by the very galaxy you sought to protect. No! Even then, heroes must be born. The masses may turn against us, but within that crowd there will always be one to cheer us on. And when that happens... With the final reserves of his strength, Shield delivered a kick to Alice's gut and knocked her off balance. He shoved her off and rolled her feet. Alice drew her sabre and came at him. Shields, you must have a death wish! Before she could reach him, a bullet impacted against her energy barrier. What? Hidden above the catwalk, Sola aimed down her scope and loosed another round. Alice flinched as another bullet struck her squarely between the eyes. Sola, watch out! Alice sheathed her sabre and picked up her rifle. Gunshots echoed throughout engineering as Alice laid down suppressive fire. Sola rolled to her feet and sprinted across the catwalk, bullets ricocheting off the guardrails. Ha! Shields grabbed Alice, giving Sola a chance to find cover, and the two struggled as Shield tried to wrest the rifle from Alice's grip. He suddenly realised her grip on the gun and swept her leg across Shield's knees. He lost his balance and fell flat on his face, the rifle still slung around Alice's neck. Shit! He looked up and came face to face with the gun barrel. Amateur! Shields flinched when a gunshot echoed through engineering. He realised that he was yet alive. Alice's rifle flew from her hands, now an enormous jagged hole bored through its chamber. Target neutralised. Shields capitalised on the opportunity to escape. Fisticuffs aren't going to make a dent in that energy barrier. All I can do is keep the reactor from melting down. Sola took aim and sprayed lead on Alice, lighting her emergency barrier up with sparks. Ah! Shields pounded the reactor's console, desperately trying to find the auxiliary cooling system's controls. Clacks sounded above him as the last of the reactor's coolant vaporized, and sweat drenched his uniform as the reactors heated to critical levels. Come on! Zola's rifle clicked as she ran out of ammo. Alice's energy barrier momentarily flickered as if shutting down, and dashed Sola's hopes by reappearing. With a bloodthirsty grin tearing apart her face, Alice marched towards the reactor's controls. Captain! Shields barely spun out the way moments before Alice's sabre smashed against the console. Ah! Sola sprinted to the position and smashed the butt of her rifle against Alice's energy shield. In an explosion of sparks, the shield repulsed Sola's attack, sending her staggering backwards. Pretender! Alice's face contorted with wicked pleasure as she thrust her blade towards Sola's heart. Sola's eye ignited, her body twisting out the way. But it was too late. Ah! Sola fell to her knees, skewered by Alice's blade under her collarbone. Alice twisted and turned the blade as Sola's eyes widened with agony. You are but a mockery of the Shah Zaruvia. Now die like the mongrel you are. You. Shields brought down a pipe on Alice's head, sending her sabre clattering to the floor. Really? Got to cut down on the speeches! The pipe crashed against the energy shield, sending feedback jolting through his arm, but Shield mustered all his strength. He wrapped himself around Alice, putting her in a sleeper hold as her energy barrier sheared through his uniform and flesh. The two of them struggled as Shields dragged her towards the flaming hot reactor core. You! Shields squeezed his eyes shut. He would drop Alice into the reactor shaft, even if he had to fall off with her himself. This would be the only way he could defeat Alice and save the future. If his life was the price to pay to save everyone, then he would gladly sacrifice himself. Once this is all over, the timeline's going to be fixed anyways. I'll just return to being ship's captain. It's no big loss. Behind him, Sola raised her head and grasped desperately as Shields lifted Alice off her feet. I'm sorry, Sola, but I'll see you in the next universe. Ha! The reactor burst into a column of blue flame behind them, the outer panels melting away in the extreme heat. This would be their funeral pyre. The two of them arrived at the edge of the shaft. Beyond the safety rail was a sheer drop into the furnace of hellfire. Shields! He gritted his teeth and took another step towards the sea of fire, his arms wrapped around Alice. This would be the end. Sorry about this, but... Suddenly, excruciating back pain cut through him. Ah! Shields dropped to his knees in disbelief. What? Uh-huh. His consciousness began to slip away as he realised there was now a combat dagger stuck to his back. No! Shigara! Alice roared triumphantly. I have won, Shields! She pounded her chest. Even in this universe, my little doll proved your undoing. Ironic, is it not? For you have come so far and accomplished so much, only to fall in the same manner. Shields collapsed to the floor when Chigara violently pushed the dagger from his back, tearing out muscle and blood. He saw Chigara's empty face hovering above him. That's not Chigara's face. She used to smile so gently. Now, my doll, kill him! Chigara. A wicked grin slashed apart Chigara's face as she thrust the dagger downwards. Shields opened his eyes and realized Chigara's other arm had stopped the arm holding the dagger from penetrating his chest. But for a flicker, lucidity returned to her eyes. Now's your chance! Get her, Captain! Shields tore the dagger from Chigara's hand and dug it into Alice's gut with all his might. Electricity surged through his entire body as the dagger cut into her shields. At last, the barrier shattered into pieces. Alice's face froze in shock as Shields repeatedly jabbed the dagger into her belly, forming a dozen new slots into her womb. I think it's time you died for the second time! With that, he kicked her down the Sunrider's reactor shaft. And for a second, Alice floated in midair. At last! This nightmare ends. Arcadius, if only we could have died together. The second passed, and Alice fell down the shaft. Chigara covered Shield's body as Alice's body erupted into an enormous pillar of fire. The stench of burning flesh filled the room. Chigara, the reactor! Understood! Chigara scrambled to the controls and furiously inputted commands. Streams of foam shot in every direction, lathering the reactor in coolant. Flames around the reactor hissed and eventually fizzled out. With a long sigh of relief, Chigara collapsed on the floor. Shields crawled over to Sola. Despite being covered with wounds, she nodded and gave a thumbs up. Sola! He wrapped his arms around her. We did it! Just then, old Claude burst into engineering, escorted by ship security. Ooh, Captain! Despite their injuries, the two of them struggled to their feet. With grins of blood-stained faces, Shields and Sola waved. Soon, they were both on stretchers while the ship security detained Chigara, who had already surrendered peacefully. With Alice dead and Chigara never having entered the mine stream, there was no risk of Alice's ghost ever reasserting control over her again. The crew rushed to contain the damage in engineering as Shields was ferried to sickbay. Between the moving bodies of the crew, he saw a familiar locket of pink hair. Looks like you pulled it off, Captain! A second Claude watched the events unfold from the shadows. I guess this is the end. If you ever need me, you know where to find me. But a blink later, she completely vanished from the universe. Shields closed his eyes. The past had been rewritten. The future had been saved. The Liberation Day massacre was averted. And the world began to fade to white as the law of causality reconfigured the universe based on what had been accomplished. The universe in which it was created, the Sunrider would emerge triumphant during the Battle of Sarah. Chigara, the prototype spy, would have been apprehended safely, and Shields would have prevented an intergalactic war between the Alliance and Pact. Not bad for a day's work. But next time, let's try to get it right the first time around. For the record, I do quite like their main thing. It's really rather excellent. It's when the guitar riff really comes in that I start really liking it. But, Shields knelt before Moray's grave. At long last, he had put her soul to rest, up in that mountain of their childhoods. Beside him, Ava laid a bouquet of flowers next to a headstone, marking her father's final resting place. Ray, I'm sorry. You were so proud to hear that I had finally become a captain. You told all your friends I would protect Sarah the instant you found out. But I let you down. I let everyone down. And ever since that day I swore to myself I would come back here, that I'd take back what we lost that day. After so many trials, here I am. I'm finally home. Cato? Ray put her hand on his shoulder. You never had to blame yourself. Upon hearing her voice, tears dripped down his eyes. Ever since you told me you were going to follow Avi, I knew you could do it. I knew you could become the biggest space captain there ever was and win against impossible odds. I'm not sad that I came to see you off that day. Even though I would still be alive, I wouldn't be able to call myself your sister if I'd missed a thing like that. Don't worry about me. Now, I can watch over you from this mountain. No matter where you go, I'll look up to the night skies and find you somewhere amongst the stars. I know you will always be the mightiest captain who ever lived, who will defeat the biggest villains and save the galaxy over and over because you're my big brother, Cato. You can do anything. You never let me down, not even once. Ray. Shields gripped his fist and sobbed into her grave. I swear, I'll never betray your trust. And for as long as I live, I'll defend everyone. No matter what may face me, no matter what the odds, I'll fight on. So that I can return here and keep you company. I'll tell you stories of adventures, of narrow escapes and victories snatched from the jaws of defeat. You'll be on the edge of your seat each time. Ray, your brother's gonna keep fighting. Sarah's not safe yet. There's more work to do. I'm not ready to quit being Captain Cato Shields. Not yet. I'm gonna return to space, and this time I'll be leaving you here. I'll keep watch from this mountain. Good luck, Cato. And have a safe trip. Yeah, of course. Nobody's going to take down your big brother. And with that, Moray's apparition slowly faded away. She wrapped her arms around Cato's head. I love Big Brother. Keep us safe, okay? Yeah, it's a promise. Moray vanished into the fall wind. The leaves in the forest rustled as her spirit echoed through the mountain, before finally disappearing into the great beyond. Instead of lamenting her final disappearance, Shield stood with a tear-soaked grin. I'll be back, Moray. Cato, are you ready? Yeah. How'd things go on your end? My father always was a man of few words. I'm sure he would merely nod and accept my return if he were still alive, but perhaps deep underneath his cool and rational exterior, he would be pleased to see me return alive, my mission a success. I may even venture to say he might feel a tinge of pride in his old heart. I'm making an idiot of myself, no? No. You take after him in many ways. I can tell from your smile right now. He'd be overjoyed as well. I must have gone soft. No thanks to your influence. Well, never hurts to smile every now and again. Heard it helps offset the effects of aging. Captain. From the mountain, they could see that most of Sarah City was still an enormous crater. The Legion's attack had bored a scar into their beautiful city, one that they may never forget. But reconstruction efforts were already underway. The Alliance had already brought money, workers and resources to restore the city, while Fontana had likewise pledged to make amends for Pact's wanton actions. Shields looked at the remains of the city he had once called home. There was still work to do, but for the first time in his life he felt victorious. Not a fleeting sense of accomplishment after winning a skirmish, but an overwhelming sense of having won something important. And it resounded through his entire body, giving him strength. And with that, the two of them hiked back down the mountain. The sun set over the Sarah National Park. The Liberation Day celebration had just ended. It was a grand affair where Admiral Grey took to the stage to commend the fighting spirit of Sarah's only surviving assault carrier, and presented Cato Shields with the Furled and Cross. There were parades, a full orchestra, as well as enough Pact and Alliance dignitaries to last a lifetime. But in reality, Cato Shields did not care too much about receiving honours or trying to find influence by befriending powerful Alliance figures. Instead, his only thoughts were about Alas, the clamour of parties ill suits me. Sola awkwardly hid out of sight behind a tree, far away from the din of the crowd. And despite the old universe being destroyed, Sola and Shield's feeling for each other had remained. There was still much Shield had not yet discovered about Sola's past. Stop yawning, you bastard. He still had none of the specifics about how she had become Shah, or how she had been flung from time 2,000 years into the future. In fact, so much of the girl he now liked was shrouded in mystery. There you are. I remember attending many similar functions in my timeline. They were thoroughly exhausting events, where men and women alike maneuvered to manipulate me. A single wrong word could mean my death, but by the end I was more drained after a social gathering than I would have been if I had fought 1,000 of my uncle's ships. I wish I could say that anything had changed, but Shields leans against the tree, joining Sola in our hiding spot. In any matter, drawing attention to myself here would only cause complications for you, so I shall refrain from taking actions which may expose my true identity to the Alliance. Alright. Honestly, I'd beat a hasty retreat as soon as I could too. I'd hate to waste an evening at the park with a bunch of cruddy politicians and reporters when I have you to spend it with. Yes, I do keep slapping myself when I yawn. I'm trying aversion therapy. You must always keep speaking such outrageous words. I've always dreamed of coming back here. When I was a child, I went to this park with my family almost every weekend. We'd all sit right over there. My dad would grill a little meat on the barbecue while I ran around with my sister, our dog, chasing after us. Shields held back the tears which began to form in his eyes. Even though that's a thing of the past, being here with you almost feels the same, Sola. Yes, perhaps humans are not meant to be alone. While the silence it brings has its own memories, sometimes it hurts to bear your troubles by your lonesome. Sola stood silently, and Shields knew that she was in a deep reminiscence. No doubt her story was a long and complex one which had caused her unspeakable grief. He knew he may never fully heal the scars of Sola's past, but he still felt compelled to stand by her and help lift the burden she carried. Sola, you're not going to be alone anymore, because from now on, I'll always be with you. Is that the truth? Yes. Ah. Captain, you mustn't make promises you cannot keep. Misfortune has always been in my shadow. No doubt many more sorrows await me. Sola's lips trembled. Are you truly prepared to face what may come? Sola. Shields lifted her chin with his finger and sealed his promise with a kiss. Ah. You are a troublesome man. To pluck the flower off a virgin's lips so casually. Shields put his arm around her. Look, we've liberated Sarah, beat back Pact. What else could possibly happen? Captain, please refrain from jinxing the happy ending. I truly cannot live with an uncouth man like you. I fear my sensibilities will be torn asunder in a matter of days. Sorry, Sola. I promise. I'll behave from now on. A true gentleman, I swear. Sola buried herself into his chest. But it is that bold side. But it is that bold side which I like best about my captain. As expected, I am truly in love with you. There is no helping it. She closed her eyes as Shields stroked her soft hair. Yeah. Shields felt as if he had gained something valuable, a precious treasure which now needed to protect with all his life. No matter what happened, he'd make sure the tragedies of Sola's past never repeated themselves, and he swore it with all his heart. Night fell and the two of them returned to their hotel. Well, here we are. Shields leaned down and gave her a kiss goodbye. I'll see you tomorrow. Sola hung onto the cuff of Shields' sleeve. Sola leaned against Shields' door, her body trembling with apprehension, and to calm her down, Shields wrapped his arms around her and locked their mouths together. The tongues gently glided against each other, and at first Sola hardly moved her tongue at all, but Shields gradually coaxed it from her mouth. As their mouths pressed together, Shields was overwhelmed with Sola's bittersweet taste. The aftertaste of distant sadness lingered within his mouth. determined to wipe away her sorrows welling up within him, making him run his arms along her back and touch her all over, showering her with affection. In the end, Shields knew nothing of what Sola was talking about. Her past was still shrouded in mystery, and her future was still uncertain. Shields had believed that her suffering had ended, that she had escaped her life of being a pawn when she escaped her timeline. Little did he know how wrong he was. For even in this timeline, a dark future awaited her. Ruvia was only big enough for a single Shah. Sola would once again become a political tool for a new and deadly game. In the end, she was an existence which broke the natural order of the galaxy, and one day she would be confronted with the ultimate decision. But that day was not today, because today, for the first time in her life, Sola felt happiness swell through her body. Even though she knew her happiness would be fleeting, and accepted in her heart that an ending would be bittersweet at best, she was glad to have been loved by Cato Shields. 1 month later, after a much deserving period of R&R, Shields had finally returned to his trusty ship. With his days on Sarah went by in a flash, in the end Shields could not rest easy until he had returned to what had become of his new home. And on top of that, Shields had managed to transfer a certain prisoner to his ship, ostensibly for field counterintelligence purposes. He pressed the intercom and spoke with Chigara. "Oh, Captain?" "Chigara. Sorry for the small cell. We're trying to build you a better one as we speak, but... well, for now, please bear with it." "Don't worry. It doesn't bother me at all. In fact, it's Chigara who's sorry for everything. I know you have no reason to believe me, and I don't expect you to forgive me for what I've done, but I never knew myself that prototypes had planted me on board this ship. All this time I thought I was the sole survivor of the diode catastrophe, and that I was the ship's chief engineer, but it looks like I was fooled too, doesn't it? Chigara was a fool all the time, playing right into the prototype's plans. I wouldn't be surprised if the captain hates me now. No, you're a victim in this too, Chigara. You never knew what the prototypes were planning either. You were an unwitting pawn. Honestly, I'd be damn glad to have you as the ship's chief again. As long as the Alpha prototype still lives, she can assume control of your body, so we can't let you out. Not yet. Not until we finally found the Alpha and destroyed her. And then you'll be free again. I promise. I'll get you out of that cell, Chigara. Make sure the prototypes never take control of you again. You have my word." I see the captain has certainly not lost his touch. Chigara's happy to hear that, but don't make Sola too jealous, okay? Huh? In the end, I hurt you, Captain. I don't mind you finding someone else. As long as the captain pays her some visits from time to time, okay? Yeah. Just let me know if you need anything. Understood. Shields entered his old office. He'd spent countless hours in there, agonizing over plans to lead one ship in a war against Pact and to liberate Sarah. And after every victory, he felt as if he stood on top of the world. He'd somehow won against an overwhelming enemy. While some nights the weight of commanding the ship crushed down on his back, he would realize the futility of his mission and despair. He would not most likely survive to see a liberated Sarah. But now that his mission had been accomplished, he felt surreal walking through all the memories he had had of his office. His thoughts were interrupted by an unexpected noise. "Fleet Admiral! Oh, what the..." Someone had placed a basket beside his desk, and a dog popped his head out from the top and panted friendlily at Shields. "Well, what do we have here?" As if on cue, Ava slipped inside the office. "Ava, are you the one behind this?" "Indeed, Captain." She straightened herself. "In light of recent events, I thought animal companionship may help keep your nerves smooth on our next voyage. As such, I've arranged the transfer of a, canine unit to serve on board the ship." "Well, you definitely know me too well. In fact, I used to have a dog which looked just like him, don't you remember? I recall him quite well. I hope his protégé proves as reliable as Fleet Admiral." "Well, hell. Hardly a day on board the ship and the damn mutt already outranks me." Shields shook his head and delivered a salute to his new pet. "Captain Cato Shields, at your service, Admiral." "Arf!" He gave the Admiral a scratch behind his ears and turned to Ava. "Well then, Commander, shall we get underway?" Shields and Ava strode onto the bridge of the Sunrider. "Situation? 3 days ago, Pact forces raided the Alpha Prototype's cloning facility at Diode, but by then it was already abandoned. Our current whereabouts are unknown. Our primary objective is the capture and destruction of the final leader of the prototypes. Not only that, but we are needed for an urgent mission from the Alliance. Entire colonies have begun to vanish near the Minos Abyss. We are to join a combined Alliance-packed investigatory fleet and find out what's going on. Ah, I know this plotline. Obviously an alien race from another galaxy intent on destroying all humanity before we get too powerful and destroy ourselves. Or something. Captain, please refrain from unnecessary speculation. Besides, that idea makes no sense whatsoever. Most likely to pirates raiding colonies and nothing more. Oh, Ava, when will you ever learn? Wherever the Sunrider goes, there will rarely be a dull mission. Ava facepalmed. Unbelievable. Get us underway, Commander. Understood. Helmsman, 1/10 impulse. Ease us out of port. Shields took one last look at Sarah on the main screen. This was the home that he had liberated with his own hands. No, not merely by his hands. He had had help from men and women across the galaxy to accomplish this mission. And no matter how difficult the next voyage was, he swore he would come back and see it again. We had to test our systems by launching all riders and making one lap around the moon before entering warp. Sounds good. Girls? Blackjack, ready to go! Let's get this out of the way. Sir, it's my privilege to continue to serve as your Alliance Liaison Officer. Standing by. Captain, you can order me to do anything. Liberty is standing by. A female voice he had never heard before sounded through the comm. Huh? Who's that? Captain, Command has transferred a new pilot to our wing now that Chigara is our prisoner. Not only that, but she will serve as the ship's new chief engineer going forward. All of this should have been in the report I left on your desk a week ago. Ah. Ava stared daggers at Shield's face. I must have missed that. Meanwhile, in the hangar. The new girl's voice sounded through Asaga's comm. It's my greatest honour to serve under the world-famous Sunrider Valkyrie Squadron. While I'm still inexperienced, please take good care of me. Huh. Never knew we had a nickname like that. Yeah, fits though, doesn't it? Alright, Rook, first things first. Captain's already taken, so give up your dreams of becoming his sweetheart. Excuse me? I never... Precisely at that moment, the linear rail activating, flinging the Liberty from the hangar. Hiya! Welcome to the team! Captain, all our riders have launched. Shield stood at the front of the bridge, his eyes gazing at the vast sea of stars before him. Who knew what adventures awaited him out there? The Sunrider proudly sailed out of Sarah, her riders flying in front of her. While Shields had given it his all to return home, he knew his destiny laid amongst the stars, fighting against impossible odds to save the galaxy from every manner of doom. And as long as villains existed in the galaxy, Shields and his girls would fight to stop them. He grinned. Set course for our greatest adventure yet. Aha! The happy Sola ending. Thank you, guy on the forums who knocked up a cheat sheet for us. So yes. So, tomorrow I'm going to record the Claude super secret ending, because why the hell wouldn't I? And I think the way I'm going to do these releases is I'll do Monday and Tuesday you'll get the first one I recorded. Wednesday and Thursday you get this one, and then you'll get the whole of Claude's in one big chunk on Friday. That seem reasonable? Okay, so thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next part.